o'clock. So I guess we'll just jump on into things. I'm Jennifer Rubenstein. I am the executive director of the Louisville Independent Business Alliance. And I have been so impressed with Jen Risley for getting all of this together today and lining up our wonderful speaker who will be introducing herself here shortly. And Jen, I'm not sure if we will have time to do introductions all around. But if you would, in the chat, it would be great if you can just put maybe your name and the organization you're representing. And if it's not obvious by the organization name, maybe where that is, approximate area of the country, so we can get an idea of who we have on the call today. And I know that we'll want some time for some Q&A. I know that some of you have submitted your questions in advance, but I did want to take a little bit of time to talk about AMIBA, the American Independent Business Alliance. We are all about empowering organizations and businesses to educate the public about why buying local is important. And I would like to say LIBA is a member of AMIBA, and I'd encourage all of you to become members as well if you're not already. We offer many resources, one of which is calls like this Local Leaders Roundtable, where you can get kind of the basics. We have kind of 3 different themes. We either do a toolbox type of thing, a nuts and bolts, and that's what I would kind of consider today, where we have an outside speaker kind of chatting with us about how we can more effectively run our organizations or our business. And of course, we also have kind of a hive format where we have more of a conversation, and then a what's up with AMIBA, so that we can all keep up with what is going on with our national organizations. So with that, I am going to ask Jen to introduce herself and anything she wants also to say about AMIBA before we jump into our topic here.
Yeah, hi everybody. I'm Jen Risley, Director of Operations. You'll probably recognize me at jenrisley@amiba.net. When you see me send you an email, it's really an invitation to connect and learn more about AMIBA, and we can learn more about you. So please feel free to reach out, and I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you, Jen. Appreciate it. Well, with that, thank you everyone for putting your replies in the chat. It's great to be able to see where folks are coming from here. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Amanda Jeffers, our presenter today, who will be introducing herself and just a little bit about today's topic and all the wonderfulness that is SEO, right, Amanda?
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here. So my name is Amanda Jeffers, and I have my own business too. It's Jeffers Design, and I'm a web designer and graphic designer, and today an SEO specialist. So I'll go ahead and share my screen. I do have a presentation. So all right. Claps everybody here. All right. So today we are going to go over SEO, the basics of SEO, search engine optimization. And, we're really going to try and drill it down and keep it really basic and what you can do yourself as far as SEO is concerned for your online presence. All right, so we'll just jump right in. All right, so what is SEO? I guess we should start there. Again, it stands for search engine optimization. And so people use Google, or maybe a few use Bing, but and those are search engines. Search engines use web crawlers, and also known as spiders, to go through every single website on the web, and they use a super confusing algorithm that changes all the time, takes in thousands of factors, and then they rank different websites based on what has been searched. So it's super confusing, and it's super organic. They change it all the time, but it's not something that you need to be overwhelmed about. It's just, you can do your part through this presentation, and I have some exercises that anybody can perform, and that helps kind of have you track what is working for you and your local business. And why should you care? Pretty much everybody does Google searching, if not Google, some kind of search engine searching. As of now, I think Google owns about 90% of the web searches, whether it's through Google Maps, the Google search, or YouTube, which they own. So they kind of dominate the search engine world. So we do really focus a lot on what's best for Google. And in the end, the other search engines are probably following suit. So you're probably doing well on the other ones as well. And yeah, so lots of traffic all the time. And if you're not popping up, people can't find you. So that's why it's important and why you should care. All right. So there's about SEO and how it can help you. It can increase your credibility online. So more people coming to your site increases your credibility. So if you do a good job, you get more credible. It helps generate leads. Obviously, more people come to your site, you have more chance of people buying or using your service or reaching out, whatever your goal is. It can obviously lead to online success, because if you're the first one popping up, most likely people are going to go to your website. And then user satisfaction. So if you have a really good presence, a lot of times people are going to come to your site more people come to your site, more people review your site, have a good interaction with your company. So it increases your user satisfaction. So all of these things are important. And if you have a stronger SEO presence, all of these things are going to improve. But we do need to set expectations, which means it's not a quick process. You can't just throw up a website and hope people are going to find it right away. It's going to take time. It's going to take effort. It's going to take consistent changes on your site, and that analytical part where you're actually looking and seeing what's working, what's not working. So you definitely just want to stay mindful that SEO is very much a process, and it's organic and it fluctuates. So just if this is something that you're new to or something that you're going to take on, just have that expectation going into it. Okay, so there's two types of searches that people do. You have an internet user, and they're either going to search using a direct name, whether it's the name of an individual or your business, or they're going to do a keyword search, which that can be really finite keywords, really basic keywords, or it could be a keyword string, which is more like a key phrase that they can type in. So an exercise you can do, because you have to start somewhere, right? Type in your business name on Google and see where you land. Now, odds are Google knows our location, most everybody. So odds are you're probably going to show up first, which is great. So maybe if you are showing up first for you, maybe go ask somebody, a partner that you know who maybe has not much affiliation with your business, have them type in the name to also see where you land for them. But type in your business name, see where you land, and write down the number, whether it's 1, 10, 20, and then write out 5 keywords that you know that you want your business to show up for. Now, it can be a key phrase as well. It doesn't have to just be a one word, but because one word is pretty generic. And so you can do maybe a key phrase. What kind of key phrases do you want to pop up in? And see if you show up. Try and go, way down at the bottom of the first page, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, that pagination. Most people don't go that far, but just see where you land. And that way you have a baseline of where you're at with these two types of searches. All right, and so there's 3 major components to SEO when it comes to your website. One is your website structure, which is how your site is physically built and coded. The next part is content. What do you put on your website? Images, video, text. And the next one is site credibility, which means how are other people interacting with your site? Do you get a lot of visitors? Are people linking back to your website? Do people share your content? All of that leads to your search engine optimization. So there's 3 main components, and we're going to go over each one of these and how you can work on them and make them stronger. First one is website structure. Many people hire someone to do their website, but some other people maybe use Wix or Squarespace and they do it themselves. So these might be things that you don't have to worry about, or things that you might want to check in with your web team to see if they've done it for you. But the first thing is your domain or URL, which is what you've chosen to be your domain name up in the top browser. Your image alt tags or video alt tags. So robots or these spiders, when they crawl your site, they can't see your pictures. So they want to be able to read what you've put there for your media. So it's important to make sure you put these image alt tags on every single image throughout your entire website. And the point of them is to describe what people are seeing. This also helps with accessibility for people who might have an impairment seeing your site. So image alt tags are a structure piece, and then meta tags, and we'll go over meta tags in a minute, but that's the when someone pulls up a Google index page and it shows the title and then that little description underneath. Those can usually be customized for any single website. So have you customized your meta tags and made them as strong as possible? And then an SSL certificate, which isn't as big of a deal these days because every website needs to have one. So most websites now come with an SSL certificate automatically. But if you don't have it, it's that thing that shows the little padlock up at the top and HTTPS. And you got to have it. Otherwise, people have the angry message that pops up saying your site is insecure. So, but if you don't have one, you should get one. So website structure, going back on those meta tags, this is where that meta title shows up. So if you're customizing your meta title, it shows up here in that browser tab. And then this is what I was talking about as far as the title being the Wyoming Women's Business Center home, and then that little description underneath. And then you can see all those other pages there. All of those can be customized, and they should be customized. So that way you get some of those good keywords in there and what people can expect to find on that page. Another thing for structure is your header tags. For SEO purposes, you should only have one header 1 tag on your page. And that lets the robots know that that's the main header, and then everything underneath that should be header 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's just a easy thing to do just to make sure that all pages have just one H1 tag and everything else is subheaders. All right, and then again, some more exercises to do. So look at your domain name. The most common extension is .com or .org if you're an organization, nonprofit. If they are not available, you can locally, you could start adding your location to the domain name, which helps a little bit on the local side. But you want to keep it short, you want to keep it memorable, and you do want to try to avoid hyphens if you can. Website crawlers don't love hyphens in a URL. And then make sure that for your pages, all your blog post pages, any content that you create, that you're using the post name in the URL structure, and each word is divided by a hyphen. That's the easiest way for the robots to crawl your URLs. And then make sure your meta tags are populated. Again, with Wix, I think there's a whole separate section where you can customize all of those. If you're using something like WordPress, there's probably a plugin that you're using. And if you are, you can customize all of that. And then maybe double check about the header tags. Make sure you just have the one header and then subheads underneath that. And then again, SSL certificate, not a super big concern, but just see if you have that padlock up at the top left or on the left of your domain name. And if you do not, reach out to whoever your web developer is or hosting in order to get that set up. And then a few other structure elements, robot commands. Sometimes there's a website out there where you can turn that on and off. So just make sure that you are allowing the robots to crawl your site. 400, 500 errors, that's if you change a permalink, maybe you change a blog post permalink, and then somebody does a keyword search, finds the old link that's still indexed with them, they click on it, and now they get a page that says, oops, nothing's here. All of that can hurt your SEO. So it's really good practice to don't change your permalinks, but if you do need to, be sure you have a redirect option so you can redirect that old link to the new link. So that way it takes them to that page without getting a bunch of 400 errors, because those will hurt your SEO if you have too many. There is an option to create sitemaps, and sitemaps are just really basic link structures of all the links incorporated in your site, but the robots, spiders really use those and can crawl them. And you don't necessarily have to have the sitemap on your site, but you can generate one and submit it to Google to make their job easier for crawling your site. And then the last thing is page speed and vitals, which that is kind of a newer thing in the last couple of years. But page speed is now a very important aspect to SEO, or still is. So if you have a really slow site, it actually hurts your SEO. So there are a couple of tools that you can use. And again, if you're concerned with any of these things, you can reach out to your web developer or see about taking care of them yourself. But some of these tools, if you go to GT Metrics, you can type in URL and test your site, and it'll give you a score. And you can see how well your site is doing, or if there's things to fix. And it does give you some areas where you can improve. So that's a really good tool to use. So if you want to check that one out. And then a Google-based one is Page Speed Insights. And this one can be a little bit intimidating, but it does give you a really good idea of the mobile side of things and how well your website is doing on a phone. So, which is really important for SEO as well, making sure that it's fast and looks easy and good on all devices, also known as responsive design. So these two tools are really a good option as far as looking at that page speed and all the vitals and how you can improve your site's performance. All right, so that was the structure of the site. Most people, like I said, if you have a web team, they're going to go ahead and take care of that for you, but you might want to check in, make sure everything is good in that department. But then next is website content. And this is where it really probably comes from you as the business owner. And that's what you put on the website, you know, your text, your media, all of it. And these are things that you can do to improve the SEO on your site. The first thing is make it unique. Don't plagiarize, because they actually can detect plagiarism. So if you find a blog post from another company, that's great. And you copy and paste it over to yours, maybe change a sentence or two, they're going to know that that has been plagiarized. So go ahead and try and make it as unique as possible for your business. I understand that there's tons and tons of content out there. So I mean, odds of it all being kind of duplicated is possible, but you definitely want to make sure that you have it as unique as possible to your company and your business. And it needs to be relevant. So it needs to be something that people are searching for. If people aren't searching for it, then it's not going to matter. You need to make sure that your content is relevant to your business, or I mean, your users and your customers. And then you do need to frequently update. And I think that's where a lot of people get hung up is, you know, they build this website and then they might not have anything to change on it for a long time. So once it's indexed, it kind of is done. But if you continue to add fresh content, they're going to keep crawling your site and coming back. The things to do with that might be like blog posts or just adding stuff like that. But even if you don't have a blog, just coming in and updating images and text, twice a year is helpful for people to, for those robots to keep coming back and indexing your site. And then you really want to think about how your users are interacting with your site. And that's where you can ask other people to look at your site, but you really want to think like your customer in order to work on better keywords and what they are looking for when they're searching for your site. And I have on here, look at the competition, because a lot of times it's not something that we have to reinvent the wheel on. You can look at what your competitors are doing and then see what's working well for them, maybe tailor it for yourself. It's just a good practice to look and see what, the best websites are doing. So another exercise is write down the various searches that you believe people are searching for when it comes to what you offer. Then review your page content and see if those words are in there. Because if you think about the keyword searching, you need to make sure that you're putting in there what you think people are searching. And that's what you're trying to accommodate for both the searching and the robots to crawl your site. And then for content marketing, a calendar is a really good thing to get, really good tool to use when it comes to updating your website content, because it is something that you should do on a regular basis. It is something that you should prioritize. And if you set aside time and you have it already on your calendar and you have a plan, it makes it a lot easier to execute that plan. And then I would recommend asking 3 current clients what they would search for when it comes to your content, when it comes to what you offer, and get their opinion. And that way you can incorporate their search keywords throughout your site. Okay, and then another big thing is you hear people say, I don't know what content to put on my site. So this is hopefully just a quick overview of get some creative juices flowing. So you might have a blog. So you just start adding more blog posts, but they can be informative and they can be expert articles. A lot of people don't know what to put on their site, and hopefully this will kind of give you some ideas as far as that. But you know, if you work for maybe an insurance company and you don't know what to put on there, well, anything related to home insurance, anything related to a home could technically be informative, and it can go on your site. So, I mean, that opens up a whole slew of content right there. Just, you know, there's insurance, but you're not really trying to sell with your content marketing. You're not really trying to, you know, what you're trying to do is build a relationship and build your credibility and be the expert that they go to when they're learning about whatever you have to offer. So that's where this content marketing can come in. So videos are great because now anyone has a smartphone and you can just do a quick video of yourself. It doesn't have to be a big production. So you can do quick abouts or how-to videos. If you do processes, if your business has something to do with the process, you can do step-by-steps and you can do infographics. A lot of these things can be done using free tools like Canva, or if you have a marketer or graphic designer, they can build these and put them out on your website. Case studies would be great if you have a really strong clientele and they want to do reviews or a case study of how you help them. You know, you provide a solution to their problem. All of that would be a really good content marketing. The user generated content. So if someone's already out there putting a bunch of great Google reviews about you, put that on your website. You can actually integrate Google reviews right onto your website. And it shows really good engagement, and that's also really good credibility. Checklists, again, if you have anything that has a process, you can throw action items on your site. If you have experts in your field, tips and tricks. When it comes to education and nonprofits, you can do courses and how-tos. And then the last one's a little bit unique, but if it fits into what you offer, it's definitely something to look into, which is influencers. And, you know, there's a lot of people out there who are trying to be social media influencers. And that basically means they have a huge following and then they market or mention your service or product. It doesn't have to be like a, you know, anybody huge necessarily, but even if it's like an expert in your field who mentions you, that's being an influencer for your business. And that's just a matter of finding them, reaching out and asking if they would do that for you. So influencers are kind of a newer one, but definitely something that is an option to get more content onto your site. So hopefully that kind of just sparks some ideas as far as what to create for your site and how you can kind of keep that consistent update going. And then the last one is website credibility. And what basically we mean by that is popularity. And are people going to your site, and are people sharing what you have, and are people mentioning you on the web? And that could be through social media, and it can be through articles, radio, all of that. So they're organic links. Someone sees your content and they like it, and so they share it on their website. The Local Leaders Roundtable website had a thing for me, and it had a link to my website. That's a backlink, and so that helps my SEO. Relevant sites, so other sites in your industry, are they linking back to you? Are you guys working together? PR and communications, is your local radio station, did they do an article about you? And then they link back to your site. Press releases, local newspapers, all of that kind of gives more of that backlink action. And then social media. Social media obviously is huge, and then people can share your content And all that gets you all those links back to your website. So website credibility, going back on the exercises. One thing that everybody should have, if you don't have it, if you have a physical location, I should say, is a Google My Business. Google My Business did change recently. It used to be anybody could have one, but now they're really trying to focus it on maps. So if you have a physical business, you should definitely have this, because that's where you're going to start pulling up. On that right-hand side, when someone searches your business. So definitely get a Google My Business if you have a physical location. Otherwise, you know, are there other business directories that you could get on, such as, you know, Chamber of Commerce, anything like that? So all of those help get some more of those links back to your site. Asking reviews. Most people do this already, but it's definitely something that it's hard to get people to stop and leave a review, but it'll never happen if you don't bug and ask. And reviews are huge because they're the word of mouth of the internet. I know for most anything, I'll look at a Google review about a company. And then going back on the local side of things, making sure that the geographic data is on your website. So if you're local, if you're small, and you're just helping within your small area, definitely having those keywords with your city, maybe your neighborhood, all of that. So, and then working with experts in your neighborhood in order to get that credibility and those backlinks. All right, so we went over the three main components that make up SEO, and all three areas can be worked on to start building that. However, if you don't have the tools, you won't know if it's getting better. So you definitely want to make sure that you set yourself up with the correct SEO tools to be able to track it. At the beginning, we talked about where you landed and doing that exercise, figuring out where you live on that index. And then you can use these tools to see what's working, what's not working, and if that index is getting better. So Google Search Console is a tool where it's mostly just all about Google search and keywords, but you can sign up for a property. You put in your domain name and it'll start indexing how many people see your site on Google, what are the main keywords. So that's a really good one for Google search. And then if you have a website builder like Wix, making sure that you go in and utilize all their SEO tools there. But if you're using WordPress, be sure to use a plugin like Yoast is a good one. And that way you can optimize all your SEO right there, and you can create sitemaps. And a lot of times on Google Search Console, you can submit the sitemaps. That way people can crawl them. And then Google Analytics, that's the one that is really covering a bunch of things when it comes to your SEO. That is also something where you go to Google Analytics, you create a property, it's going to give you a code, and then you want to put that code in your header tag. Again, if you have a web person, they probably have already done this for you. If they haven't, ask them to do it. So that's Google Analytics, and then you can get all the insights as far as your SEO and what pages people are going to. And then the last thing is to use online resources, and one of them being Moz. They probably dominate the SEO resources, I would say, but they are a really good resource, and they have a beginning guide to SEO, and it's very comprehensive and it's very detailed. And you know, I think it's a really great resource to continue to go back to, because they're continually updating their content, which is keeping everyone fresh on what's trending with SEO, I should say. So definitely checking out those online resources is really important when you're trying to figure out what's going on. All right, and then, you know, I know we've covered a lot and I've gone kind of fast on everything, but you know, it seems intimidating, but you know, you can start small. Just do what bite size, what you can handle, I would say. You know, just I'd say do those exercises to start. They're all pretty manageable exercises. And that way you have at least a baseline of where you're at and hopefully where you're going to go. And, you know, if it just sounds too intimidating, there are lots of SEO professionals and agencies out there. You can research and see if any of them fit. Maybe there's local ones in your area, supporting local, obviously. And, you know, that might be taking some of that pressure off. But for the most part, you know, you definitely want to utilize this presentation, which we can send out and kind of go through those exercises and figure out where you're at. And that way you can start tracking it. And I did just want to show before we get into questions. I did have, yeah, so Google Search Console. This is just a quick overview of what it looks like, but you can come under performance and see the top queries of what people are looking for. So, and then you can see how many people have clicked and how many impressions there are. So if people have Googled something, like this has shown up 39 times, but you know, 260 clicks in the last 3 months. So you can get a sense of what keywords are showing up. And if someone's not clicking on it, you know, maybe ask yourself why.
Hey, Amanda.
And then yeah.
We're not able to see your Google console.
Oh, you don't see my screen?
We just see your PowerPoint.
Oh. Hold on, new share.
Thank you.
Good now?
Perfect.
Okay. Back where I was talking about, this is Google Search Console. And then these are the top queries. And again, over here on the right, you can see how many impressions they had and how many clicks they had. So that's the Google Search Console. And then the analytics. So analytics, you can really start deep diving as far as pages and where people are coming from. So social media, Google, direct links, how many people are on the site right now. So this is the tool that I was referencing as far as analytics go, and it can continue to give you lots of information. One thing I know that we had, I think one of the questions was, you know, if things change on the site, I guess if you don't want someone to find what you had before, definitely make sure that the page is not just hidden, because it's hard once it's indexed, it's not just going to disappear if you remove it. So maybe if that page is going to remain live, I would say, you know, put something on there like no longer available, or do a redirect to a different product, something along those lines. But yeah, it's not something that gets fixed super rapidly because they're just constantly re-indexing. But you can, under this Google Search Console, keep updating your sitemaps and adding a sitemap, which helps them discover these pages and these links. So that's maybe a quicker workaround to have them look at those, have them look at what you've changed on your site. All right. So I think I went over all the tools, and are there any questions? I think I hit right at that 30-minute mark.
Yeah, there were some questions that came in. Jen, do you?
Oh, I was just gonna say there
Cool.
are a few in the chat there. Very interesting presentation. It's nice to see it broken down into kind of the different areas. And so a few things, if we want, do you want me to just kind of read them to you, or do you want to take a look in the chat?
Maybe read them to me.
Sure.
Thank you.
Well, where on the site should the keywords go? And I feel like you kind of explain some of that as well, but you know, placement matters in the keywords.
Yeah, placement does matter. The keywords, obviously, if it's a good keyword and you know you want to show it up, headers are good, because they're going to start with those headers. Again, making sure those keywords are somehow filtered into your meta tags, so that little description that's popping up underneath that title. And then, yeah, hierarchy, you know, having that content up higher definitely helps a little bit, but then having longer tag content is not a bad thing. But I would put that in your blog articles, because we're kind of getting to this point with websites where we don't like reading a lot. We want to see things, or we want little short bits. So in those short bits, make sure you're getting the good information in there. And then when you're trying to get more of that descriptive long tail information, start putting that in like maybe the blog posts or the pages where people have to drill deeper to learn more.
Gotcha. Next up, and also, we're happy to circle back to questions if folks need it. How do you balance the benefits of posting videos with how they can slow down performance? I'm assuming that means speed of loading kind of thing.
True. And that's where most people use YouTube or Vimeo and then embed it using most website builders. I'd say you can just drop a video in, and that's if you're putting your own videos on, uploading it, that does take more bandwidth. So definitely utilize those other YouTube, and Google owns YouTube and Google likes YouTube. Google likes Google products. So I would say definitely get a channel, put them up on YouTube channel, and then embed them that way, because that's actually going to help your SEO as well when it comes to videos. And then making sure images have the alt tags, but also optimize your images for web so that they're not 4 megabytes, because that really slows everything down. So just making sure your images are a nice web pixel size.
Gotcha. Let's see. Bill has a question. If our business doesn't have the labor hours to create ongoing content for our website, is paying for search engine placement through something like Google AdWords our best bet for placing higher in the relevant search listings?
Google ads are definitely, I think they're good. I do think that they are I do think that they show a good return on investment as far as clicking, but they're expensive. So I guess return on investment, you would have to just look at that and play with it, because they are expensive. They are definitely more expensive than like a Facebook ad, if you will.
Sure.
So
That's
you
kinda
definitely
related
want to.
or there's another question right below it from Barbara. Just, do we need to pay for placement since paid placements are often the first screens on Google?
Yeah, and they are. And the first, and one thing I will say on that is that really depends on your business, because if your competitors are like some of these national ones, that might be really hard. So when you do that, you're definitely going to want to look at the right keywords to make sure that you're showing up locally, and that's probably location in there. But it just really depends on your business, because again, if I'm just going to use insurance because I had a background in insurance, but if you're a local insurance company, that's going to be really hard to be placed first, because of those other people who have unlimited budgets, and they're always going to pop up first. So I would say look at what your business does, but then yes, I do think it's important to try it, because I do think that there's a lot of value and you do get a lot of clicks. But if people are just going there and then leaving, it's not really doing what you need it to do. So that's where the analytics, I think, comes in, and it's important to look at it. But I do think Google ads are a good tool to try for sure. And for some people, it really pays off. And for other people, it's just not worth the money.
And then another comment related to that was just that Anne also finds Google ads to be time consuming. I'm guessing she's talking about placing them, etc. I don't know if you have any advice there.
I don't know if Google ads, I feel like they simplified it a little bit recently. It hasn't been as hard, but again, if you're talking about the analytics side, that is kind of hard. It's hard to look at it and know if it's really working for you. So I would just say, as far as the time goes into it, I'd try it, but if it's not worth your time or your budget, because again, they are more expensive, then utilizing some of those other tools, free tools, I would say might be a better option for you.
Here's a question from Susan, just kind of specifically, what is a nice web pixel size? What should we be looking for when we're posting pictures?
That's a good question. So full screen, like you see my screen right here, most pictures don't need to be more than 1,500 pixels wide if you're going to go a full screen image. And JPEGs are a little less file size than a PNG. So just keeping that in mind. But yeah, so full size 1500 is the max I tend to use. And then if you're just using like a normal sized image, anywhere from like 700 to 800 wide. Same thing tall, because you don't want blurry images. Blurry images just look bad. So I would try and keep it to where it's a little bit bigger than I think it's going to be on the screen. That way it's a better quality image, but it's not large.
Got it. And from Barbara, is modern convention always images / videos at the top? So you have to scroll down to get to info on the actual business.
I wouldn't say that it needs to be top and bottom. I would definitely, like I said, smaller bits are kind of a better approach for people these days. Now, we're also talking mobile, so everything starts stacking too when it comes to mobile. But I think it would be important, like if you had a nice about picture and then you come down and you have a great video about your company, I would have that video on the left, and then I would have a short description on the right. Keeping that description, really short, 5 sentences maybe, with a nice header. So again, you get that keyword in the header, you get some good keywords about your company in that short description, and then you have the video, and people can opt to just watch the video or get a small blurb about you, and then they're moving on to the next piece. So a lot of times you're kind of just intermingling it, I would say, at least in my experience when I'm putting websites together. That way it's just a nice balance between the two.
Got it. And here, Susan has another question here. It's nice and specific. WordPress has a field called focus keyword suggested 2 to 3 words. Should this be populated on all pages?
Yes. Yeah, that's for, I'm assuming that that's Yoast. And then they have the focus keyword. And I would say, Yoast is going to do the best it can, but they all claim that they're great. But yes, I would go ahead and put those keywords in there, and the top 3 that you think people should search when you want them to search and find your page. And I would say if people are using Yoast, don't freak out if it's not green, because they give you like red, orange, green for each page. You want quality content. You don't just want to like throw in weird stuff to make it green. So just keep that in mind. If it's orange, it's okay. What's important is the content good? Is the content relevant? Because that's more important, I would say.
Got it. Now, I cannot swear to it, but I think maybe I have covered the questions. Well, Barbara does say, what makes it green then?
Well, usually what makes it green is, and I think on Yoast, if you click the drop down, it gives you all these options as far as what's going to make it green. And you can keep playing with that over and over until it's green. But I would honestly, because I've done that too, where I'm like adamant that everything should be green. And sometimes it's worth the time, and sometimes it's making the content weird to me for the user. And I prefer like the user experience over what Yoast is telling me to do. So I would say if it's like, a couple of, like if you don't have enough links on the page, you can work on getting some links if it makes sense. But if it doesn't make sense, then I wouldn't sweat that. Did that answer that question?
I think so. Susan adds in about how often should each page be updated? I'm thinking you maybe said a couple times a year, and how radically should they be updated?
Like when it comes to pages, because pages are a lot more static, right? They're learning about your company, they're learning about what you offer. I would say that stuff, yeah, twice a year, even, or if you just want to do like a refresh once a year. But probably the more important part is that organic piece where you're putting just more content on there about what you have to offer, being that expert, or products, if you have products, getting new stuff up there, or new pictures or information about it, reviews, all of that is more transitional content that can be added. But for pages, they are more static. And even if it's just a matter of changing out some of the descriptions and the pictures, that might help just refresh it up a little bit.
Awesome. I don't know if anybody, if I missed your question, please feel free to come off mute and speak up. Yep, Susan says she's still processing. Barbara says, are you saying starting with a smaller website and then adding content is a good strategy?
It doesn't have to be a small website. It could be a large website. I mean, your website is going to be whatever it needs to be to convey what you're trying to offer. So, I mean, there's some websites where they have 30 pages and then a blog, and then there's some that have a single page, and then they start adding content after that. So, I mean, it's really just your business. It's what your business is trying to do and getting the right information out there. And in that case, I would say come up with your goals. And I'm sure you already have this, but your target audience, your goals. What are you trying to offer? What's the problem? What's your solution? And then go from there as far as content goes.
Sounds good. I think Susan would like to know if there's a best way to stay current with algorithms.
That's that research. And again, Moz, I think that they're great. They are probably the industry leaders as far as SEO. So they're always putting out content about SEO. So I would say keep current. Just I would follow them and look at what they have, because the algorithm does change all the time. And I don't think it changes dramatically, but there's trends, you know, like now page speed is a trend. And so I think that that's definitely something to keep in mind, but it's not something I wouldn't fret over it all the time, but maybe do a check-in once or twice a year if there's any kind of trending things happening with the SEO and the algorithm.
I'm sure all of us could spend 24/7, 365 on researching and keeping up. So we appreciate you kind of making this into a little bit more digestible undertaking. Although I'm sure, you know, any of us to take everything on all at once is one thing, but if, you know, like you mentioned, just focusing on one piece to get started and then potentially adding more as you go along.
Yeah, it's hard as a small business. I mean, you're trying to run a business, so the marketing side can be super time consuming and overwhelming. So I think it's always best to just start small, even if it's like, well, I'm just going to write one blog article a month. At least that's a start. So, I mean, I think that's a reasonable approach when it comes to small local businesses trying to increase their marketing presence.
Awesome. You're getting lots of props in the chat as well, Amanda. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Susan says this is the best presentation. What else you got? I'd say go to Amanda's website. I bet you could search it up on Google and find it.
Yeah. Do as I say, not as I do. But yes, websites are interesting and fun, and I love them. So, and thank you for having me here.
Yeah, we've got the website at the bottom of the presentation there, jeffersdesign.com. And of course, the fabulous Jen Resley will be sending out a summary of today's call along with the video. And we'll be asking Amanda for the slide deck so we can refer back to that in future. And any other questions before I guess I'm gonna start wrapping up? It was I can't believe we're ending early, but it was very meaty, all of the things that we did. So awesome. Well, thanks everybody. I do want to remind you that we do have these once a month, the Local Leaders Roundtable. Next month on Thursday, April 13th, I'm going to drop this in the chat, but we will be having, I think I'm going to drop it in the chat. Increasing your advocacy capacity with the ILSR, which is the Institute for Local Self-Reliance. I know for us, we certainly don't have any paid advocacy staff, and I need to rely on someone else's expertise, and they are a very handy resource. So we hope to see you then, and reach out if you need anything to myself or to Jen. And